What's going on, you guys? This is New York Adventurer 1994 here, and today is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. And this is kind of a sad video to make. So, it is officially October now, and today has marked 10 years since my paternal grandfather passed away. You know, the grandfather I've been talking about, who is a Yankees fan and all? Well, today marks the 10th anniversary of his passing, and he passed away from a stroke he's been dealing with for several years. So I'm going to tell you how it all started, and the story will progress from there. So it's been a really sad day for my family today, because it's been a decade without my paternal grandfather. This all started when he got a stroke from some car accident, and he had like this stent in his head, and it was causing a lot of damage to him that he ended up going to the hospital like a week before Thanksgiving in 2008 when I was in second grade. He had that dent in his head, and this is what led to the stroke to happen, and he was sent to the hospital. So my Thanksgiving memory of 2008 was having my grandfather in the hospital. Only my nana was home, but my grandfather wasn't. My nana was there for the night as soon as he got there. And then my nana came home the next day. But she was having Thanksgiving without him. And Christmas 2008, on Christmas Eve, we went to the hospital to go see him. And that was like a really sad Christmas for all of us. We had to see our grandfather in the hospital instead of him being at home with us. At least it's better than nothing. They allowed us to see my grandfather on Christmas Eve. Of course they are, because he's family. Of course the hospital will let you. But it was just sad with the fact that he was in the hospital during Christmas and he was not at home with us, and we had to go see him at the hospital, not looking his best. That was like a really sad Christmas Eve for all of us in 2008. Yeah, my 2008-2009 school year in second grade, it was not really the greatest because my grandfather was in the hospital for a great chunk of the year. My grandfather wasn't really doing well, and he was like in the hospital for like a majority of my second grade year. I didn't really have a pleasant second grade. It was really sad. And he was also in the nursing home, like right next to the hospital. There have been times where he got transported into the nursing home, like right next to the hospital he was in. And he actually ended up having his memory erased because of the stroke. It got to the point where he didn't know I was his grandson, and he didn't understand this or that anymore. He came home like back in the spring, like sometime around Easter, from the nursing home, like on a Friday, like in April, and he was like a totally different person. Like he didn't understand much like he did back then. Like he didn't understand that I was his grandson or this or that. It was really sad seeing him being totally changed after a stroke. And my grandfather wasn't able to drive anymore, so me and my father went to the DMV to get rid of his license because my grandfather was not going to drive anymore. Yeah, my grandfather was home for like 2 years, feeling exactly the same. Yeah, nothing really changed. He was like the same. He was like the same person for 2 years between 2009 till 2011. So we spent 2 years with my grandfather, and he didn't really understand much anymore. It was really heartbreaking seeing him coming off as a different person, but it's better than it's way better than not having him around at all. At least we were able to have him around. The most important thing is that he was still alive, thank God. And we were at least able to have Christmas 2009 and 2010 with him. That was the good part of it. I was thankful for it. Yeah, there was a lot of things he didn't understand anymore. So, 2011 rolls around, and me and my brothers were on spring break, and we were in the living room with my grandfather, and he actually went up to go get something, and he ended up passing out on the floor. That he was like nearly dying, and we actually had to rush him to the hospital. We called the ambulance, and they fetched him like immediately, and they rushed him right back to the hospital. And we were like right back at square one during April 2011, where he went back to the hospital because of the stroke. The stroke he had started to grow a lot, so he got rushed to the hospital again. It was really terrifying that day. It was like in the middle of spring break in 2011, and he was rushed back to the hospital. And this is what put us back in square one with him. And he was in the same condition as he was back in 2008, where he wasn't really talking or anything. And he was getting transported back and forth from the hospital and the nursing home again. He was in the same hospital as he was before. It was all thanks to his stroke, and it got the best of him that day, and he just passed on the floor. If we didn't call 911 like immediately, he probably would have passed away right there on the spot. Thankfully, we did. We did take action immediately and sent them there. My parents called the ambulance and they took him. And we went to go see him in the hospital the next day. And we had to spend Easter 2011 without him. If you think that's bad, we spent the majority of 2011 without him. We had to go through it all over again like we did in 2008. We had to spend Thanksgiving without him. We had to spend Christmas without him again. That we actually had to go see him in a nursing home on Christmas Eve in 2011. And he was there for a whole other year in 2012. He actually spent Hurricane Sandy in that nursing home. Yeah, he was mostly in the nursing home after the hospital in 2011. He spent like 3 years in the nursing home before he passed away. Yeah, he was mostly in the nursing home other than the hospital. Yeah, we had to go through it all over again in 2012 also, where we had to spend Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas without him, and New Year's. And then we had to go through it again in 2013. Yeah, my grandfather was in the hospital during Hurricane Irene and Sandy. He was in the nursing home. It was terrible. And we also had to spend Easter 2014 without him, and that was like 6 months before he passed away. And then the last time I actually saw him was on Grandparents' Day in 2014. It was September 7, 2014, and that was like the last time I saw my grandfather alive. And it was before I headed off to go see my maternal grandparents in Queens that day because it was Grandparents' Day. On the last week of him being alive, something really bad happened. His stroke once again got the best of him, that he actually got rushed back to the hospital again. And my parents like went over there, and we were dropped off at my mom's best friend's house because my parents went to go see my grandfather, and things were looking really bad for him. My grandfather's eyes were closed and he wasn't really talking anymore. He was just done. It seemed that time was running out for this man. And then October 1st comes, 2014. It's Wednesday, October 1st, 2014. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, he passed away in the hospital at 5 in the morning. And we actually got a phone call at 5 in the morning informing us that my grandfather did not make it and he passed away. I didn't know about this news until I came back home from school that afternoon. I was like in a deep sleep around that time. But my Nana got up and heard the phone call, and my Nana informed my dad, and it was just horrible. And then me and my brothers came home from school that day. My parents didn't want to tell us like before school started because it was picture day and we have to get our pictures taken. So we didn't know about it until afterwards, so we could get our picture taken and make it look like nothing's going on. But my parents told us the bad news when we came home, and it was completely devastating in the house. And we actually invited my dad's side of his family over, and we went to Applebee's that day because when you're dealing with a family passing, it's important to keep your family together, and that's why my dad's side of the family came over. Like, the family was staying together like throughout that week because my grandfather's gone, and we decided to make sure that the family stayed together through this tough time. So from there we actually went to Applebee's that day. And we were together with the family like through the rest of the week. Hold on, let me start another part to this video.